I found out that there's a chance that my daughter isn't mine. I, 43 male, feel like my world is crashing. My wife, 41 female, and I have 2 kids, 15 male and 12 female. I love my kids and love being a dad. I have stuff in common with both of my kids, but my daughter is like my little best friend. We get along so well and have so much in common, and our personalities just mesh so well together. Look-wise, my son looks like both myself and my wife, but favors me, while my daughter looks just like my wife. Seeing childhood pictures of my wife, she and my daughter could be twins. So last night, my wife and I were grocery shopping, when all of a sudden my wife goes pale white and starts shaking a bit. I was freaked out. After 20 or so minutes, she calmed down, but after she wouldn't talk to me or even look at me. Finally, at the car, I asked what was going on. She confessed that there was a chance our daughter wasn't biologically mine. Right around the time she would have gotten pregnant with our daughter, she had gone on a work trip. Well, on her last night there, she saw this guy she went to high school with, and they were talking and drinking, and one thing led to another, and they ended up having a drunk hookup. And just the timing of everything. There is a chance that the daughter I have been raising for 12 years isn't mine biologically. That guy she ended up seeing in the store, and that's why she acted the way she did. I am getting a paternity test ASAP, and if I'm being honest, I haven't been able to look at my daughter since finding this out. My wife and I haven't talked really since, and I just let her know I'm getting a paternity test, and I am just in shock, honestly. Update. We got a paternity test done on both kids ASAP. I explained to both kids not only why this needed to get done, but also that this doesn't change my relationship with them because I raised them and love them. We got the results, and let me tell you, they were not what I had expected. My daughter, who I initially thought had the chance of not being mine, was my biological kid. Instead, I found out my son wasn't my son. I questioned my soon-to-be ex-wife. Turns out she had another affair with my brother for a short period. I was in shock to say the least. She tried saying she only cheated once before she became pregnant with my daughter. Now I'm finding out that biologically my son is my nephew. Since then, I made my ex-wife move out. My son decided to stay with his mom and hasn't talked to me, which I understand is confusing for all of us, and he's a 15-year-old boy. But I have texted him off and on, just letting him know I love him, and in my eyes, he'll always be my son because I raised him. My daughter is staying with me still. We are both in therapy after this whole situation. I've been trying to contact my ex-wife to get our son in there, but she hasn't returned any of my calls or respond to my text.
My ex ruined his life, and I'm buzzing about it. Story time. So I found out that my ex was having an affair. He told me that he'd found a woman at work and he'd fallen madly in love with her. From this, he told me that he no longer loved me anymore and he wanted to get a divorce. Bearing in mind, we have been together since we were 14 years old. We're married, obviously, and we have 3 children together. And he has known this woman for 3 months. So I desperately fought for our marriage, but he would just not stop seeing this woman. This one time he disappeared from Friday afternoon to Monday night. And that was the final straw for me. And at that point I was like, see ya, and I threw him out. The day after this, he immediately moved in with that other girl. I literally begged this man to give me a reason. And he was just like, there's just something about this girl. And he kept saying over and over again, I deserve to be happy. That was it. Nothing else. That was the excuse for ending our marriage. The reason he was throwing our lives away was because there was something about this girl. So skipping forward, we ended up filing the divorce in early 2022. I faked my feelings enough to get a pretty favourable divorce settlement. He wasn't really intending on having a long divorce process and getting stuff out of it, because he just wanted to be with this other girl so much. It meant that I got to keep the house. However, I did have to give him quite a hefty payout. Throughout all of it, the children took it really, really hard. My son turned around to him and said, if you have a relationship with this other woman, I won't have anything to do with you. The daughter does have somewhat of a relationship with him. Every single time she speaks to him or she goes to see him, she comes back really, really upset. So 4 months after the divorce goes through, Steve contacts me. Apparently, he realised that he had made an absolutely horrible mistake. He was asking if he could come home. Interesting, that, isn't it? So it turns out that this dream girl was actually a really nasty piece of work. She was not a good woman at all. So I used this opportunity to tell him exactly what I thought of him as a person. Whilst I was going at him, I thought I might as well tell him what he was like as a father and as a partner. I said, babe, this is your life now. I said, you no longer have a home at this house. I told him he should never even try contacting me again. A few things have happened since all of this went down. First of all, I ended up meeting someone. Oh no, no. Just ignore that. My sister actually ended up introducing me to a guy that she works with. We get on so well and we've been seeing each other since last summer. I actually don't feel bad for Steve at all. He destroyed our whole family without so much of an afterthought. Well, do you know what? Too bad, hon. I'm sad for you. We recently told our daughter that he'd actually broken up with this dream girl. We found out that this girl actually nicked all of his money. By his money, I actually mean my money. Remember the money that I'd had to give him for the divorce settlement? Yeah. Oh, and she also wrote off his car when she was drunk driving. So that is great for her. And I'm trying to act like I feel sorry for him. Inside, I am delighted that this is the life he has made for himself. Call me evil, call me whatever. He brought all of this on himself. And Steve, if you're watching this, enjoy your shite one-bed apartment and your broken down car, hon. And we'll think of you when we go on our next holiday. We're going to Hawaii, which I know is your dream location to travel. Maybe I'll send you a postcard.
My twin sister and I took a genetic test, and it turns out that we don't share any DNA, and my family won't tell me why. My twin and I are fraternal twins, and recently we decided to take a genetic test just to see what we shared and what were different about us. Since we still share genes, fraternal twins are genetically siblings. My grandparents actually suggested that we do the tests, and they bought them for us, so our parents didn't even know about them. Our results literally made no sense at all. My twins was coming up as Western Europe and Eastern Europe, which makes sense because most of my family are Croatian, German, and Austrian. So all that would be accurate, but mine was literally nothing like that. Mine was either Scandinavian or Russian and a few other places too. Neither of those were on my twins' result at all. She had the tiniest percentage of Scandinavian, but that's it. And we shared absolutely no DNA, which clearly stood out to us and seemed impossible because we're literal fraternal twins. We have to share DNA. My twin was pretty sure they just probably mixed up the samples. So we contacted the company and my twin ended up taking a test again. It was the same exact result as before, and we were both really confused. We told our grandparents, and all they said is, that's really interesting, but they didn't say anything more, no explanation. So we decided to tell our parents because we just wanted to see if maybe they had taken genetic tests before or anything. When we told our mom, it was pretty much the same reaction as my grandparents. She just kind of seemed annoyed about it. She basically just said they're inaccurate anyways, and our grandparents shouldn't have told us to take one. When we asked our dad about it, he basically said absolutely nothing. I'm just so confused, and my twin thinks it's a mistake, but I just really don't think so because we're fraternal twins, so we have to share at least 50% of our DNA. If these results are right, we basically are just not related at all because even if my mom had cheated on my dad, we would still have the same father, so we would still share some amount of DNA. I'm just not really sure why my parents would adopt a baby that is the same exact age as my sister. I might just not even be related to her at all. I did end up calling the clinic, but they said that the day of my birthday, they only have record of my mom giving birth to one child, not two.
I tell you guys why I stopped going to my old lash tech because she was way too unprofessional as I'm taking off these lashes to go to a new lash tech. She's a very sweet girl and she does lashes very, very good. But her time management skills and her professionalism is absolutely horrible. That's why she lost me as a client. So I'm going to tell you guys about two instances. The instance that just happened today and the instance that happened the last time. So we're going to talk about the last instance. Saw her story that she was able to take clients today, right? She was like, hey, I can take clients today at 6 o'clock. So I said, hey, can I come in at 6 o'clock today for a fill? She said, okay, that's fine. Got you down. I'll see you soon. Okay. So mind you, we had this conversation at around 10 a.m. At 10 a.m., she said I can come at 6 p.m. Mind you, I'm a realtor, so I was out. I had house showings that whole day. I'm not on Instagram. I'm busy. I'm working with my clients. So once I'm done working with my clients for the day, I get on Instagram at 5 o'clock p.m., right? And she sends me a message at around 3 o'clock that said, hey, could you come, could you send a $25 deposit? Now, mind you, she didn't tell me to send the deposit when I first asked her, can I come in at 6? She just said, okay, got you down, see you then. Then hours later, she tells me to send a deposit. Mind you, I'm not on Instagram all day, so I didn't see that message until 5 o'clock when it's an hour before my appointment. So I just think I could just go ahead and send her the deposit. So I'll go ahead and send her the $25 deposit. So she writes me back and she's like, oh, I didn't know if you were really coming or not, so I left the shop. What do you mean that you didn't know I was really coming or not? Like, what do you mean? Like, I told you I was coming. You didn't tell me anything about deposit. You should have told me to send a deposit right then and there. Don't tell me to send a deposit 3 hours later after we discussed everything. At this point, it's 5:30. So she's like, I left the shop. So I'm just like, well, you didn't tell me to send a deposit earlier. You just told me cool. And she's like, oh, well, I'm not used to people DMing me. Like, okay, like what? Like, I don't know. That was strange. So mind you, I've been coming to this girl consistently. So it's not like I'm just a brand new client and she don't know if I'm really show up. I was coming to her consistently. Now, before this situation even came on, she always used to reschedule me. Like, every time I book her, she'd be like, actually, can you come tomorrow? Actually, can you come? Like, she's done this multiple times. But like, these 2 instances really took the cake for me. So back to this instance, she was just like, oh, I didn't know, bop, 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 bop. So I'm just like, I still drive to the shop because mind you, it's 5:30. So I'm thinking like my appointment's at 6. So I still drive to the shop. I get to the shop. It takes me like 15 minutes to get there. I get to the shop at 5:45 and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, and I text her. I said, hey, you just said you just left the shop at around like between 5 and 5:30. Is there a way that you can come back to the shop and do my appointment? Because mind you, it's not even 6 o'clock yet. I can understand if we had this conversation at like 8 or 9, but it's not even 6 o'clock yet. So you could still come back and do my lashes because you plan to do my lashes at 6 anyway. She left me on red. I asked her to come back to the shop. She left me on red. So now I'm sitting at the shop. I'm like waiting for like 15 minutes to see if maybe she'll like come back. No, you just left the shop. Maybe like 10, 20 minutes ago. You can't turn around and come back and do a client and you have my $25. So then I told her, I was like, you know what, I'll just come tomorrow. Then she replied. She's like, oh, what time you come tomorrow? That was instance number 1 that put her on a strike. This is instance number 2. Yesterday, she had on her books, right, that she was taking clients. Again, same day. So I went on her website and I booked through her website. Because mind you, last time she said, you know, oh, I'm not used to people DMing me. So I went to her website. She had 7 p.m. same day open. So I booked at 7 p.m. same day, paid my deposit on her site because she had it open. She says she had open availability. 10 minutes before my appointment, y'all, it's 6:50. She texts me and she's like, oh, I just realized you booked for 7. Can you come tomorrow? I can't do it today. But you said that you could, and you put on your story that you had open availability. So that's why I went to you had same day open availability. So I went to your thing and booked it for same day. Day comes, right? And then she texts, let me go back. So she texts me and she texted me, she was like, can you come tomorrow? So this is Monday. So I'm like, what time? She does not text back all morning. The afternoon she texts me back today, like at around 1 o'clock today. Today's Tuesday. She texts me back. She's like, actually, can you come tomorrow at 5:30? So basically, you've rescheduled me 3 times because on Monday, you said I could come Tuesday. Tuesday, you said I could come Wednesday. I just said, can you give me back my deposit? And I went and found another lash tech. She's a very sweet girl. She does really good lashes. Like she's a good, you know, she does good work, but it's the professionalism that's not there. That's not clicking. You could do the most amazing work in the world, but it's like your professionalism and your customer service is not there. I just would say, like, you know, I feel like she just doesn't take her job seriously. Like, maybe she doesn't do lashes full time. I don't know. I don't really get into my stylist's personal business because, like, you know, unless they want to tell it to me, I don't like getting in people's personal business. But it's just like, you clearly don't take this serious, or you just, I don't know. So it's just like, I'd rather go to a lash tech that actually takes her job serious. So I'm going to a new lash tech. And it's like the girl does amazing lashes. Like, my lashes look really good, but it's just like her time management skills are just not up to par, and I just can't continue to be a client of hers.
Out of all the craziest places you can meet a boy, I met my boyfriend on Wiz, and let me tell you something about it. I just want to say, Wiz isn't actually a bad place. I wasn't looking for anything, and neither was he. Been together for a year and a couple months. You're probably thinking, what was a famous girl doing on Wiz? Because why do so many people just ask me this question? And I'm just like, I was bored. My friend told me to download it to have a little fun, because people's pickup lines on there in the UK are absolutely crazy. We're just kind of having a bit of fun with it. Like if you've been on or used Wiz before, you understand how the messages work. Like, you can't see everyone's messages, you can only see a certain amount. You get so much messages on Wiz, just some random people. Like, it's literally 10 every 10 seconds. But all the messages would be like, are you a spatula? Because like, I'd flip you over, and it's just some weird stuff like that. But this boy messaged me. As always, you can put like commands, and I put, oh, what was your biggest regret? Mine was dye my hair red because it was her biggest regret. This boy popped up to me and said, oh my god, I had red hair too. Like, it wasn't any weird pickup lines, it was actually relating to me, so it was kind of intriguing. Also luck though, because you have to be almost at the same time, and you literally have to see their message, otherwise it just goes. Obviously, I clicked on that message because I was nosy and I just wanted a conversation. I had no one to speak to, so I clicked on that message and we started talking. You know what I'm convinced is fake? The fact that we both said, I was like, where do you live? And he was like, oh, Croydon. I was like, I live in Croydon too. I was like, what, wait, where, what area? Like, where? Like, what, when, what, where? Literally, like, there is no way that this boy lives right next to me and we just met off Wiz. Like, there is no way we live 20 minutes away, but it's true. As we were talking for the rest of the night on Wiz to the point we actually had to exchange Snapchats. He was going to Austria for a school trip, like a skiing kind of trip. I wish I could do that, but they were going to Austria, so I was like, okay, but he still texted me the whole entire trip when he was in Austria. It was that type of texting, you know, that non-stop texting when you like someone so much and you're just waiting for their reply. We did not stop talking, like we did not have nothing to talk about. However, I was literally late to school literally every day because I wake up at 4 a.m. for school. Well, for college I used to, because I left now. I would stay up talking to this man since like 3 a.m. or like 4 a.m. because so much to talk about. It was so weird. Literally, boys do not get hints. I was hinting every day that I wanted to meet up with him because I was bored. It was winter half term and I was bored. I had nothing to do. I had no friends to go out with. Obviously we couldn't do that because he was all the way in Austria, so I just went straight up, can we meet up when you're back from Austria? We can go to London and go on a date. He was like, yes. That day came around and it was finally the day we were meeting up. I met my boyfriend on Wiz, and let me tell you how meeting up for the first time went. I was literally meeting up with a stranger that I met online and I could have been murdered. And the worst thing was, I wasn't even nervous. I was so excited because we met up at East Croydon because that was the halfway point of where we lived, and we were going to go to London South Bank. We met up, and to my surprise, he was actually real. It's just the fact that I was excited the whole time. Like, I should have been scared. Like, I saw him for the first time and I was like, oh my god, like, what the hell? We got on the train to London. I'm gonna lie, at this point it did start to feel a little bit awkward, mainly because I didn't know what to say. We've already talked about everything. We know everything about each other within a week. The whole train ride we were just really joking around and we were just being a bit weird. Like, I was like, what am I doing right now? I already fell for this guy over messages. That was really bad of me. When we got to London, we started to buy some drinks because our plan was to drink in front of the London Eye. Went into Tesco, got some plastic cups and got some alcohol and just poured ourselves some drinks in the park. Sounds really weird and sketchy. We sat in front of the London Eye. There was this guitarist playing in front of us like really romantic songs. Tell me that was not staged. Worst thing is we weren't even keeping an eye on the time, so before we knew it, it was like 1 a.m. but we couldn't get home. Me and him were just stranded in London. This guy I met off Wiz. So we sat in a park. I remember we fell asleep on a park bench. I think it was somewhere near Hyde Park, but we fell asleep in this park. I fell asleep on his lap because we were getting along so well and we just had so much to talk about. It didn't feel awkward at all. When we finally went back to the train station to see when our next time was, and the train was at like 4 or 5 a.m. but we waited in London until 5 a.m. I fell asleep on him and he fell asleep on me at the train station. They're gonna call me absolutely crazy for this because he had literally no trouble getting home. The train station was literally a 5-minute walk from his house. Ubers weren't even accepting at like 4 a.m. Prior to meeting up with him, I told my dad that I was going to stay at my best friend's. It didn't really matter where I stayed or not, if I came home or didn't come home. The only reason I did what I'm about to tell you next is because I was so tired. Like, I just wanted to find a bed for the night and go to sleep. I did not care. I was too tired to actually care. Guys, I stayed around his house. But listen, it's not as bad as it seems. Like, let me speak. But he literally didn't want me to stay either. Like, he felt really weird about me staying because he didn't want me to feel uncomfortable or weird. It was so nice, but he asked me if he wanted to sleep on the floor so I could sleep in the bed. I was like, listen, I just want to go sleep. He was like, oh, should we watch something before we fall asleep? I was like, yeah, sure. And I just see Monsters vs. Aliens. So if you're wondering, is there hope on Wiz? Yes, there is.
I recently found out that my best friend has been using my pictures to catfish a guy she's been talking to since like 2015. My best friend, who we'll call Maggie for the sake of this story, we met freshman year of college and we actually have been roommates for 2 years now. In 2015, my best friend spent spring break a few states away and she matched with a guy on Tinder. When she had gotten back to campus, she was talking about him 24/7, about how amazing he was and how she really liked him. She said that they had only gone out to dinner once, which was obviously a lie, but that they were talking 24/7 every single day. I got super excited for her and I asked her to show me a picture of him, and she did, but that's the only picture I've ever seen of him. Over the past 5 years or so, she's been talking about him constantly. He's basically her whole entire world because he's like all she talks about. I have asked her a few times why they never meet up, and she said it's because they're both busy and they don't really have the money for the trip. I even told her that he could obviously stay with us to save some money, and he has sent presents and flowers on every single Valentine's Day. They've basically been dating this whole entire time. Yesterday, my roommate was working a shift at the restaurant and I get a knock on the door. I open it to a guy and he said hi, and I gave him a confused hi back. And then he barged in and scooped me up into a hug. And he said, "I thought you were working. I was hoping your roommate would be here so that I could surprise you when you got back." I just looked so confused. So I backed away from him and I let him know that I had no idea what he was talking about. Then he looks at me super confused and was like, "Maggie?" And I said, "No, that's my roommate." My roommate and I look absolutely nothing alike, so I was even more confused at this point and I couldn't even process it. Then something kind of clicks in my brain and I was like, oh my god, this is the guy that she has been dating. I asked him if his name was Adam, and then I was like, oh my god, Maggie's gonna be so excited to see you. At that point, his demeanor had completely changed and he was questioning me. He was like, "You're Maggie," and I was like, "No, I'm Summer. I'm Maggie's roommate." At this point, I still am completely missing something that he clearly just pieced together in his brain, because then after that he looks down and he was like, "Oh fuck, can I sit down please?" We go and sit on the couch and he proceeds to tell me that for the past 5 years he thought that he had been talking to me because every picture that he's seen of Maggie were actually pictures of me. And he even was getting out pictures on his phone and showing me proof that she was sending him pictures of me. I called her to tell her that he was there waiting for her, and she starts flipping out saying that she's not gonna come home and she doesn't want to see him and she's not gonna speak to him. He called her and he was yelling at her over the phone. Eventually, when everything calmed down, she did end up coming home. They were still fighting and she was saying that she's still the same person that he's been in love with, but he was saying that no, he thought that he was in love with her roommate, and that completely broke her. After he left, she started going absolutely psychotic on me, throwing things around the living room. I left to go stay with a friend. I still haven't been back, so I don't even really know what's been going down over there. I don't even feel like I know who I live with anymore. She still hasn't even texted me, and I just don't know what to do about the situation.
I caught the love of my life cheating on me. Now, this one is not a funny story. It's really sad, so buckle up. So my boyfriend and I had been together forever, literally high school sweethearts. We go off to college together. We move in together. We are we're ready to get married at this point. Like, we were young, 18, 19 years old, but we were ready to get married. We loved each other. And for as long as I'd known him, he would always get these really bad headaches. He would go and he would get checks and stuff, and he just always got really bad migraines. This is important for later on in the story. So we go off to college. It's me, my boyfriend, my best friend, my brother, and his best friend. Now, my brother's best friend I've known for literally my whole life. He's a little cutie, but I don't really have any feelings for him because, like I said, I'm in love with my boyfriend. So we all go about it, our college life. A couple months go into the semester, everything's going good. My boyfriend's starting to act a little weird. I don't know what's going on with him. He's just acting kind of distant, and his personality is just really different than what it used to be. And it's important for you to know that I had a feeling, or a suspicion, that my brother's best friend liked me or had feelings for me, but I never said anything, never called him out on it, because I didn't want to ruin the dynamic, and he kind of always didn't really like my boyfriend anyway, so it was just really awkward. So he tells me one night that the bar that he works at down from the college, he saw my boyfriend in there with another girl, like kissing all up on her, hugging all up on her, basically cheating on me. I'm like, I know, I don't believe you. Like, there's no way that that's true. I trust him completely. Finally, I confront my boyfriend about it. Turns out it is true. And I'm like heartbroken, devastated at this point. So I break up with him, move out. I go to get my stuff the next day, and there's like a girl in bed with him, and he is just like, I'm so sorry, like I didn't mean for this to happen. I'm like, you didn't mean for this to happen, you just like slipped and your dick fell inside somebody. Like, I don't understand. What do you mean by that? And then he like starts holding his head. I'm like, you're just trying to get out of this conversation, like whatever. So I leave and I start dating my brother's best friend, and I start falling for him like really, really hard. And I find out something about my ex-boyfriend that changes literally everything, and that was so devastatingly heartbroken, and it just changed the course of our entire lives.
Get ready with me while I tell y'all about the first time I ever ate gummies, if you get what I'm trying to say. So I had to have been about 18. At this point, I've had the actual flour, but I've never had the gummy version. So I told my friend to go buy me a shit ton, which he did. And I went home and I had at it. I went at it. I'm not even gonna lie, I was a little bit scared, and obviously I was doing it by myself. So I had done a little bit of research, and like I was trying to figure out how many milligrams I can take without like dying. And I would see that people would take like 100 milligrams, even 1,000 milligrams and be fine. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let me do that. My friend had gotten me a bunch of different things, and my dumb ass, I wanted to try one of everything. Eventually, I decided to stop once I hit 95 milligrams, guys. Once my tummy was full, I sat back and I waited for the effects to kick in. So about 20 minutes passed, and bitch, I didn't feel shit, so I start to get irritated. So about 5 minutes go by, and I'm starting to finally feel a little bit woozy, but it felt good, you know what I mean? So about 10-15 minutes go by, and tell me why now I'm having a full-blown panic attack, and I can't calm myself down at all. It just got worse and worse and worse. So you know what? I called it a fucking night, and I attempted to go to bed. But as I was falling asleep, I thought I was literally dying. Like, I thought I was crossing over. I'm not even religious at all. I started begging God for forgiveness just in case. Honestly, it got to the point where I was so scared that I just woke myself up, and I called my friend, and I was like, y'all, you guys gotta come get me right now. Like, I cannot be alone. When they finally get here, I stumble my ass out of bed, bitch. I feel like I can't walk at all. I'm walking just fine, but it feels like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, bitch. I can barely see straight. And then I walk out to the living room, my stepmom's right there, and bitch, I'm scared. I'm like, I'm gonna go see some friends right now. She's like, okay, have fun. Like, not thinking anything of it. Then I walk outside. My dad's sitting right there on the fucking porch, and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna go see some friends. Bye. He's like, okay, bye, have fun. Like, we were in apartments, and the porch was a balcony, and he can see down into the entrance. And as I'm leaving the entrance, right, I fall to my knees and I start projectile vomiting all over the floor as my friends run up to me. So my dad sees this. He comes down, he picks me up, and he takes me to my room where him and my stepmom start taking care of me. So they're like asking me what's wrong, right? And I can barely get a sentence out. I was also too scared to tell them like, hey, I ate too many gummies. I knew they wouldn't give a fuck, but I don't even cuss in front of my parents. So you really think I'm gonna tell them what's going on in this situation? They came to the conclusion that either I was like having a panic attack, or I was passing out from like overexhaustion because of how much I was working at the time. But in reality, bitch, I'm just burning out. They had mentioned like taking me to the hospital, and at that point I was like, no, we can't do that. That's when I stuttered out the like I took too many gummies, and she looked at me like, really, bitch? Like, and then basically they told me to just go to sleep and I'll be fine when I wake up in the morning. So that's what I did.
Am I in the wrong for agreeing to split the bill on a double date, which ended in my best friend being dumped? I, 22 female, am really unsure here. My best friend and roommate, 22 female Amy, had been seeing this guy for 2 months. She really likes him, and it seemed to be going super well. Last night, she asked if I'd go along with a blind double date, her and the guy she's dating, and one of his friends who's single and looking. I wasn't keen on it at first, but she insisted, so I agreed. We got to the restaurant, just a nice place in our area, and things seemed to be going fine. The friend she was setting me up with was cool, but I really am not looking for anything right now, and I didn't feel any kind of spark. We get to the end of the dinner date, and the bill comes. Amy chimes in and says, "Don't worry, our men got this." To which I say back, no, I don't mind. We'd had 2 cocktails each, all 4 of us, and it wasn't a crazy expensive place, but not cheap. A bit of back and forth happened. Amy kept insisting it's always a gentleman who pays. So I said something like, you do you, I'm happy to split. The guys were saying that they would cover, but both seemed uncomfortable. They paid, then we all left. Amy and her boyfriend went back to his. I said goodnight to his friend and went home alone. Later, Amy texted saying that her man is now contemplating the relationship because he doesn't want someone who always insists that the men pay. She told me I ruined it by offering to split and should have just sided with her and not made things worse. She's now saying that he needs time and might not want to continue the relationship with her. So, am I in the wrong for this?